Welcome. We're excited to talk to you about Latinx employee resource groups and why they matter. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some quick introductions. I will actually start with letting you know how I identify within the Latinx community. And that's going to be dependent on where I am, what room I'm sitting in, and what conversation I am engaging in. Because as we all know, we are not a monolith, and we are way, way, way too awesome to be represented by just one word. So as we introduce our panelists, you're going to see that there are going to be some variations, and we welcome them all. And let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with you, Andrew. If you can tell us about yourself and again, how you identify as it relates to the Latinx community.
Sure thing. Well, I think everybody can see and hear me. Lizette, can you give me a thumbs up? Yes. Okay. I think I'm doing this right. I'm so excited to be here with everybody today. As Lizette mentioned, I'm Andrew. I identify as Mexican American. My parents are both Mexican. My mom grew up in San Francisco Bay Area. My dad moved here at 17 from Jalisco. So growing up, I identified as Mexican, but I remember a few years back breaking into tech as well too. The term Latinx was the first time it was exposed to me, was breaking into the tech industry and seeing professionals around me utilizing the term Latinx. And I'm also gay and I'm a gay Latino. And I think making sure that I'm aware of what terms I use to be the most inclusive is really important to me. So now I use the term Latinx, and most recently Latin as well too is a pretty common term that I've used as well, but I identify as Latinx primarily.
Thank you, Andrew. Let's move over to you, EJ. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you identify?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all and happy Friday. It's always good that it's Friday. But yes, I'm EJ Machiavello. I'm a recruiter at Netflix, and I identify as a proud Latina from Peru. And kind of like Andrew said, it's like a mix of, even though like he's Mexican American, I'm like Peruvian American. I really feel like I grew up here, and I'm true to my Latin roots and from Peru, but kind of, I would say it's like a mix of both worlds at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Excellent, EJ, thank you. And I had some time to spend in Peru when I was in the Peace Corps. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. So when we're done, we can chat about good places to go eat that remind you of home. All right. Jennifer, can we go over to you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer, and I'm a director of business strategy at ServiceNow. I'm also Peruana, EJ. So I'm like, yay. So I was born in the U.S. My family is from Lima, Peru, and I recently also became a Peruvian citizen because growing up, I used to go to Peru ever since I was 5. All of my family is still there, and so I'm very much tied to being Peruana, to the culture, the food, of course, as you mentioned, Lisette, and everything there. I live here in the Bay Area. I used to live in Southern California, actually in Irvine for many years, and worked for Cisco when I first started my career, and have a 14-year career in tech, and now at ServiceNow for the last couple of years. I'm based in the Bay Area and love the Irvine area as well. So happy to be talking to UCI today.
It's excellent, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Kayla, can we come over to you, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Kayla Wheaton, and I'm actually a senior campus recruiter for Liberty Mutual Insurance. I've been at the company for a little over 11 years. Time definitely flies by. I'm actually out on the East Coast, currently out in New Hampshire. So I've only been out to the West Coast once, so definitely would love to visit again. I'm actually adopted from Bogota, Colombia. So I grew up in the States, but really would love to go back to Colombia and explore a little bit more. And I'll get into that when I talk a little bit later, but just really excited to be here and speak with all of you.
Thank you so much, Kayla. All right, so let's get into it. ERGs. I can tell you that working at Slalom and getting involved with our ERG has been one of the probably biggest influences in how I experience the way I show up to work every day. It's made a really big difference. So what I want to do is ask all of you how it's made a difference. So why do Latinx ERG groups matter? And why is it important to form these communities within a corporate space? Andrew, can we start with you?
Yeah, when I think of ERGs, I think of the term validation. And I think for me, starting in the corporate space, my parents both were in service like industry roles. So growing up, I didn't have an influence as to how to move in a career in a corporate space. So my brothers also, were in corporate spaces. So for the first time, I remember joining when I first started, Apple retail, and I loved retail. And I think Apple does a great job at letting their retail associates also be a part of their corporate ERG networks. And that was the first time that I began to build relationships with corporate professionals who were, Latinx and corporate professionals who also had similar stories to me. And it was just so empowering for me. And that was the first time that I felt this almost like hand coming and reaching over and saying like, hey, these are opportunities that you can also be available to here in a corporate world. And I joined, ERGs ever since then. So for me, it was very validating. And then once, now I've been in a recruiting space for a few years now, and I talk about ERGs to different interns that we have here at JM City. And I really use it as a way for them to feel that they have community that they can identify with at a company. And I think that's so important just because it's validating, like I said, and it feels like you can really talk to people about their stories, and you can talk about your backgrounds in a way that is authentic to you as well too. So of course, there's so many different things that I can go into, and I'm sure we will. But I think for me, just most importantly, it feels like I have people that I identify with, and that I feel validated in a way that I might not in my direct department already.
Points, Andrew. I see some heads nodding, and I think we can definitely relate to that. EJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I like everything that Andrew said. And to add to that, I would say that there are three main things for me that stand out. One is the internal community you can really build within the bigger org, right? And having that space where you can explore and share and really amplify the voices and sort of the needs of the Latinx community within the bigger org. The second one I would say is professional development and mentorship. It's amazing, as Andrew pointed out, to see yourself reflected in others that have been there and kind of made it to different levels within the company. So it's always nice to see hey, they made it, maybe I could too. And having that safe space to come in and ask questions, and if you want to get mentored, having those opportunities. The last one I would say is ERGs in all companies and all orgs, I feel are very crucial to inclusion and having that feeling of belonging, having a home within a bigger org, where you can just again share and feel represented and have the space to really connect with the people from your community.
On EJ, and I'm gonna take what you said on mentoring and also add that what I've really appreciated is the level of advocacy that comes within that group as well, right? So yes, we find mentors, but you also have a really great opportunity to have people amplify the work that you're doing. And this extends past the ERG, right? But the ERG does give you that opportunity. So thank you for sharing, EJ. Kayla, I'd like to ask you a question that's somewhat related to this. What does it mean to be part of an ERG? How much time would it take if you take an active role?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really what it means to be part of an ERG to me is it's really putting yourself out there to build your network. Really making those connections can really humanize, I think, your experience at the company. And you can be as active as you want or as little as you want. So really it's up to you to make the most of it. So for example, I'm a member of several different ERGs at my company, Amigos being one of those. And when I first joined, I wasn't the most active member. It's kind of quiet, more kind of stayed behind the scenes. But more than now and ever, I was like, you know what? No, I really want to be able to make more connections, learn more about the culture, and hopefully make some new friends along the way to help me explore. And that's exactly what's happened. I actually had a really nice coffee chat with one of my coworkers earlier this week and just got to know her a little bit better. And also we talked a little bit more about some of the events that we attended during Hispanic Heritage Month. And it was just so fantastic. So really am much more involved in workshops they host, different panel talks, and also not just personal but professional development workshops too. It's just really helped me grow both personally and professionally. So I really encourage anyone to be a part of it. You don't have to be active in the beginning, but I think the longer you're involved in one, the more active you really would like to become.
Kayla, you're already starting to take us into what our next question is going to be. That was on purpose or not, but when you start to think about how much more active you are becoming within the ERG, you start to see some opportunities to really let your leadership shine, right? So it gives you an opportunity outside of your day-to-day life to be able to highlight those leadership skills. So Jennifer, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go over to you and maybe talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So to give some background, when I joined the company I'm at now, ERGs did not exist. And I remember in my new hire orientation, I was like, where are my people at? ¿Dónde está mi gente? And so a few months later, we created DIBS groups, or diversity and belonging groups. And I signed up to be the global co-lead of our Latinx group because I really wanted to set that foundation for what our organization would be. Like everyone said, building the community, building the connections. And granted, this was all during the pandemic in June of 2020. So it was very hard to do all of that and gain membership and gain traction. And we were able to do that. Now we have 550 members and have created this amazing space. So for me personally, being able to take that on outside of my day job to create a board of other like-minded leaders, of passionate Latinos, Latinas, Latinx people that want to participate and also take on an active role was really key in showing up in my leadership skills. And then also getting executive sponsorship, which is really important with any success of any ERG at a company, is making sure that you're not doing everything that you're contributing to the company in a bubble. You're having that executive sponsors at the top that are really seeing the value and the importance of the work that we do. And for me personally, that has been career changing because my executive sponsor for the Latinx group is actually my direct leader for my organization. So when I have one-on-ones with him to talk about Latinx, I also discuss career, and he's seeing live my skill sets and my growth as a leader, not only in his organization, but as part of this Latinx board. And so there's hand in hand so much that goes into what we do as ERG leaders or as members, and the visibility that we get to help us along in our careers, but also just the skill sets that we get, right? Being able to have a board, being able to get consensus agreement on decisions that are being made, similar to, I'm sure, student-run groups that students can relate to in their college experience. It's very similar in an ERG in the workplace.
Jennifer, and you spotlighted the need for executive presence, executive support. That's so important. And it's so important for the evolution of the ERG as well, right? At Slalom, I can tell you we started as an affinity group and have seen through the advocacy of our executive leadership, as well as the hard work of all of the Unidos members, the progression or the evolution, if you will, from affinity group to ERG. And I think long-term we're headed towards that BRG view, where we're starting to make some big moves within the business because of our presence and the activity that we have. Thank you, Jennifer. EJ, anything you'd like to add to the opportunities for leadership?
Yeah, totally. Jennifer, always, everything she said is really true. One of the things I would add is, also having, as she mentioned, like growing from being part of those groups. I think having these opportunities, right, like us speaking here today, is another opportunity for us to just grow personally and hone into some other skills that, for example, I don't think I would have the opportunity to participate in anything like this. So it's amazing when you can have your community kind of link you up for those opportunities where you can be in front of others and also try to help them, and also try to just point out like, hey, these are the experiences that I went through. Maybe I can help you. So I really feel grateful for the opportunities like this. And then there's something else that we've been doing at Netflix where depending on like the passions, like the different passions of our members, they're inviting, for example, outside speakers or consultants to come in and talk to our group specifically. And we recently had one come in, which I really enjoyed because it was kind of funny. It like brought me back to all these memories from childhood where it's called reparenting ourselves while raising our children. And granted, I don't have children yet, but the people that, the members that were there and like speaking about that, one of them, I thought it was really funny. Like they said, "Are we gonna teach our next generation to be scared of la chancla?" And I'm like, "That's hilarious," because some Spanish parents like really raise their child like that. So it's kind of like having those opportunities to learn something new within the org that you could bring back and relate to your family and to your future family.
Becomes about so much more than your day-to-day life, right? Or your day work, I should say. Thank you for sharing, EJ. All right, let's go over to what the benefits are for joining ERGs. So we have some students in the audience, and we want to really convince them, if they haven't been convinced already, that ERGs are really important to both your experience as well as the organizations that you're a part of. So Andrew, if we can come back to you and just hear your reflection on that.
Yeah, as everyone I think pretty much has mentioned, keyword is community. You feel that you have a space with people that are like-minded and come from similar backgrounds to you. I think starting in a new company, especially if it's your first corporate role, sometimes you can feel a little isolated, and you could feel like the first thing that you have to do is absolutely crush it at your job, and you have to like get promoted and climb the corporate ladder and this and that. And yes, that is important, but I think it's also important to make sure that you're finding a space that you feel that you belong. And ERGs, you can make you feel that way right away, just from even joining Slack channels, and you'll see the funny memes that are relevant to you, that you feel that you have a place that you belong. So I would say, spending the first few days of a new role, just getting onboarded, but then also spending time to discover local or company-wide ERGs is also important. Outside of community, I think to also some of the points that Jennifer and EJ mentioned, it's a place where you can practice your skill and in a way be a subject matter expert. If you're hired on as like a product marketing associate, an ERG may be looking to launch some sort of internal communications campaign, and guess who they're going to look for to that? That's you, and that's your skill set that you can directly contribute to pushing your community forward in a corporate space. So I come from a recruiting background, and being able to join an ERG, I was able to give input on how to recruit students utilizing our ERG strategy, and how to recruit even directors utilizing our ERG like strategy and pillars. So you can be a subject matter expert, and you could really feel valued in a way that you might not in like another full-time role as well too. So I would say those are probably the two more immediate things. And joining an ERG, again, as EJ mentioned, it can be something where you're really, really involved, or it can be something where maybe you're more of an observer. For me, it took 2 years before I really got involved. And I just wanted to observe. I wanted to see how the pillars came to life before I actually gave ideas. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to just attend events, just to be there and get the free food. That's fine. But eventually you're going to want to contribute, because you're just going to see the mission moving forward, and you're going to feel that you want to be a part of something like that. So.
Andrew, and unlike you, I wasn't, unfortunately for a lot of my colleagues, I wasn't very quiet when I came in about participating in the ERG. I was the loud squeaky wheel talking about how can we be in Southern California and not have any of those presents here. And you know what the response was? Well, you're here, and we're thankful you're here. Let's get it done. And so it was an automatic kind of a boost of, okay, you have this whole community behind you, right? Again, to Andrew's point on community, that is already cheering you on to succeed, because your success here is going to be their success as well. Kayla, anything to add to what Andrew shared?
Yeah, actually. So thinking about just the added benefits, I from a recruiting background, but also thinking about, yes, it's a great way to find belonging, that sense of community, to make those connections. Additionally, I think also, though, you can explore diverse perspectives and really make yourself a little bit more well-rounded and understand okay, oh, you're from a different background. Let me learn a little bit more and really engage that curiosity factor because we're all different. We all have a different story to tell. And when you learn more about those that you work with and those differences and similarities, I think it just really helps make you grow, honestly. And it's been a fantastic experience. When I started at Liberty, there weren't any ERGs in existence. So when they did roll them out, I was so excited. I said, oh my gosh, what is this? Let me be a part of this. And they just rolled out a brand new ERG. And I think it's from several folks at the company really voiced, there are so many different avenues that people really want to just be able to make those connections. So how can we get involved more? And then I think the final thing I'll say is some of the talks that I've heard being a part of several ERGs of the company, it's so authentic and vulnerable. And to be able to hear your senior leaders really put themselves out there and really showcase, hey, I'm human. It's okay. I know I may seem like a big shot at the company. I'm the senior leader, and maybe you're nervous to talk to me, but I'm human. And it just makes it a little bit more real for everybody. So it's some of the talks and panels that they posted, just really impactful, honestly. So I think it's a fantastic thing to explore if you haven't already. And maybe if you're curious, check them out.
That authenticity, Kayla, takes an insurmountable amount of strength to do, right? I mean, when you really see it and you see it from your colleagues, or you take the leap for that, it's something to really be admired. So I'd like to go back over to Jennifer, if it's okay. And we've heard about all the great benefits of being a part of an ERG, but in the last year or two, we have seen our ways of working just completely transform, right, because of the pandemic. How do you participate in an ERG right now? What do those events look like? How do you foster community and really bring people in if you're in a remote workspace?
Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. So as I was saying, our DIBS group started in June of 2020. So in the middle of being working from home, and hopefully at some point we'll get to be able to be in person and see each other live in real life. But one of the advantages of our ERG is we are in Zoom meetings, as I'm sure maybe students are as well. I don't know if they're back in class, but we're in Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, and it's exhausting. And what we found with our members is that yes, it's another Zoom to get together, but the content and the type of activities that we offer, for example, there was no mentorship program for our Latinx early in career hires that were coming into the company. And so we were able to create an entire mentorship program, a 6-month cohort, specifically catered to our early in career hires, and bringing in experts to come in to talk about what are some of the things that they could do to improve their career path, or even have some kind of map for what their career could look like. I don't know how many of you are first generation. I know I was. So that initial transition into the corporate world is tough, especially if you don't have that kind of experience in your family to, go off of. And so having these kinds of programs that we have been able to build as a community are incredibly helpful to, combat imposter syndrome and combat some of the things that are probably been talked about today in the conference. Some other activities that we've done, we actually polled our community to see, what do you want to do? Like, what will you make time for? And we've done a lot of fun activities. Like for Cinco de Mayo, we had a margarita making class. For Dia de los Muertos, we're doing a makeup face painting class. But then also, more than the fun part, is like educating, because we have not only folks that identify as Latinx, we have a lot of allies as well, that we're encouraging folks to also be educated in this process of learning about the issues in our community, like gender violence that has skyrocketed during the pandemic, and having these real, as Kayla mentioned, authentic conversations of things that are important in our community. And so this is just kind of a example of things that we've done, but some of the ones that have been most successful is that mentorship program and professional development, and really compensating for programs that don't exist in the company, and us really being able to create it to show the impact that we want to have, and really connecting our members. I know we've hired as a company 3,000 folks during the pandemic, and they've all joined new hire orientation and joined in this virtual world. So imagine their bubble are the people that they work with on their teams. We really are giving everyone the ability to learn and connect with people outside of their day-to-day folks that they work with. And I know we have what we call cafecitos, and someone had mentioned they had joined I think it was the Orlando office, and she ended up meeting so many people from across the world, folks that are part of our ERG that are outside of Orlando, and even ones that are in Orlando, and hopefully they meet in person someday. But I think that goes to show that this kind of connection and community that we're talking about is embraced in all the activities that we do, and people are motivated to jump on another Zoom because that's what they get out of it.
That's awesome, Jennifer. I think similar to your event on Dia de los Muertos, there's an event that we're having here where there's going to be a virtual altar to share. And I think we had a lot of positive feedback when we had our tequila tasting event.
Great.
There was some mariachi in the background too. So, supporting our local businesses. So there are some really fun ways to, inject a little bit of flavor into the activities that we're doing. All right, well, thank you all for sharing. We're gonna go over to our question and answer section of our time. And we do have a question. So I'm gonna throw it out to the panel and see if there are one or two people who would like to answer. How do you see leaders in your org be a part of ERGs? Is there support that you wish you saw? Anybody?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, you go first, Jennifer.
Okay, I was going to say, so we have two executive sponsors. One is our chief strategy officer, and the other is a VP of one of our business groups. And they are incredibly supportive. I've been in ERGs for a while, most of my career in different companies, and the amount of support that I've seen is wonderful, because it's not just about like saying I'm an executive sponsor. It's really putting the effort and being involved, being part of those conversations. We have an event called Fuego Side Chats, where it's also professional development focused, talking about biases, stereotypes. They get involved in these conversations and really contribute their thoughts, and also help us as a board think through how we can overcome some of these challenges. One being recruiting. 5% of the tech world is Latinx. It's a very small percentage of us already in the industry. And how can we improve and hold hiring managers accountable when it comes to having a diverse pipeline of candidates, not just in the interview process, but actually hired? That's something I would love to see even more accountability on, so we can really move those numbers. But for sure, at least where I work now, I can say that our executive sponsors are within their organizations fostering those conversations with their HR teams. And that's a big step for us right now.
Before you go, Kayla, if I can just share a reflection based on what Jennifer was saying. The participation from our executive leadership is phenomenal. We've seen some of our executives, like one of our GMs out of Washington, D.C. yesterday, she sat down with a group of consultants and had a fireside chat where we talked about how to find your voice specifically at Slalom. What does that look like? And she gave a very vulnerable kind of depiction of how her growth trajectory occurred, and how she right now enables and encourages consultants that are kicking off their career in how to speak their voice and be their authentic selves. So I think that involvement is incredibly important as part of the organization. Kayla, did you want to add?
So similar to what Jennifer said, we too at our organization have executive sponsors as well as national co-chairs. And there are different regions as well where you can be part of a regional project team to roll out some different initiatives. So for example, in Amigos, I know that the chief operating officer of our global risk solutions team, and then the senior vice president of our field distribution team in global retail markets, they are the executive sponsors. And in addition to that, the other 6 ARGs that we have in existence at Liberty, they all have executive sponsors as well. And just the other thing I'll say, I attended a Pride Talk this week, actually, and it was all about openness, truth, and honesty in the workplace. And when I tell you I teared up, I'm not lying, I teared up. It was a very, very raw, real talk about their experiences and what it means to identify and how they identify, and touched upon intersectionality. And it brought in a lot of different topics that it was more than just, Pride that's sponsored, and it was fantastic. So seeing, again, I kind of said this a little earlier, but seeing those leaders really be vulnerable, it's kind of hard to put into words how great it was to listen. There were some certainly sad parts to hear about their experiences, but again, it really made them sound, okay, they're human. I really understand the connection here. And it really just opens your eyes and your lens a little bit more. So it's great to see our senior leaders become so involved and be able to, maybe influence and be an advocate for others who, maybe hopefully they're not dealing with the same things, but they very well could be, or in a different way. So it's just an added way to really be supportive of one another and put people first at our company. So I just really appreciate their involvement.
Yeah, thank you, Kayla. All right, we have another question that's come in, and the gist of it is that there's a lot of growth with ERGs within the corporate world, as well as universities focusing on DEI work. Are we seeing some synergies between the ERG's DEI work? And then the question got cut off, but I think the rest of it is likely, how can universities kind of connect with ERGs? EJ or Andrew, would either of you like to react to that?
Yeah, I think everyone can hear me okay, but I hope everyone can. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll answer the second part of how universities can further connect with ERGs in a business. Make it a part of your intake conversations when you meet with recruiters or when you meet with university program managers to discuss ERGs. I, for the first time a few months ago, had somebody from the Career Service Center at a university ask me, like, what does your ERGs look like at Jam City? And I was surprised because I've never been asked that really a lot, too much in university conversation. So when you make it a point to bring it up early, on the company side, we can absolutely make sure to discuss that and begin to build a bridge there for you. In terms of synergy, yes, absolutely. So for me, if I'm ever looking at any sort of targeted communities, or really, if I'm especially recruiting out of like an HBCU, for example, or a Hispanic serving institution, I always make it a point to, whenever we begin to discuss things like career events or career conversation, to bring in somebody from my ERG to also discuss, like, how can we connect our professionals in our ERG to the students that we're aiming to target as well too. Normally that means setting up panels with students or Q&A conversations with students as well too. Or it can be like setting up a day on the job where we've had previous student organizations come in and meet with our ERGs and do like office tours and really just get them embedded so that they can feel that they know what the space looks like and they know what the company looks like. We've also even had students recruited that way, where they'll be graduating in 2 months. They meet a program manager as a part of our ERG connection, and then they begin, and their program manager takes them out to lunch during their first week. So it's also a great way for you as a student as well to begin to build relationships with these companies that you might be interested in as well.
Excellent answer, Andrew. EJ, do you feel comfortable answering, what do you need from allies within the organization and the community?
That's a great question. I wanted to add one more thing to what Andrew said in the second question, actually, how do ERGs partner and collaborate with talent acquisition? Because I'm kind of in the middle of that. We work really closely with our ERG SOMOs in order to have different events or like referral-thons where everybody in SOMOs can refer somebody to like the open positions we're having. And then it's really up to TA to bring that back to their teams. For example, within my team, we're covering like creative marketing, editorial and publishing. and a couple of different internal projects that might not even be posted online. So if we do see somebody that's a referral and that it would be a good fit, that's really a way where we want to give those people the opportunities, coming from our networks and specifically from Somo's partnership.
It's an excellent initiative. All right. I give just a quick nod to that last question and we'll wrap up our Q&A section. So what do you need from allies within the organization, the community? We need you to help create space at the table, give voice to the ERGs, participate in the events that are being hosted, celebrate with the ERGs. It's not all just about talking about how hard it is. There is a lot of celebration that goes on regarding accomplishments and growth within the organization as well. Any last comment on that as we start to wrap up, which felt like we just started 5 minutes ago, but anyone want to last remarks?
I'll say one thing. I love what Jennifer said. ¿Dónde está mi gente? You should be asking yourself that on the first day of any new job, wherever you start, whether it's retail, corporate, or wherever. If you ask yourself that question, you will find your gente very quickly. And if it's an ERG, amazing. But I will echo what she said. You should be asking yourself that as you break into your career at every level of your career, for sure.
Yeah. That the ERG work when we are involved or even as members is some of the most fulfilling experiences. And so I get on with my board every week and it's like the most exciting call that we have on a Friday. So, so just know that some of that like passion that maybe students have by participating in student run groups in university is carried over into that kind of ERG world, and highly encourage folks, even early in career, to get involved in any way that they can. It's a great way to make those connections and meet people. I've been at this company for a couple of years now. Previous company was there 14 years. And I came to ServiceNow not knowing anyone a month before the pandemic, and the community I built. I'm in the Bay Area. Most of our leadership board is in San Diego, and I have a familia in San Diego. That's how I feel. So I think it's just so important, and I'm really glad to be on this panel with everyone else here. Great to meet you all. Hopefully stay connected and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're part of your network too now.
Yeah, Kayla, EJ, anything?
I think I'll just echo what both Andrew and Jennifer said. It's been fantastic to be a part of this opportunity. And I just know, this is helping my professional and personal growth, even just talking here. It's been a great opportunity. And I am just so thankful for this opportunity, being a part of such a great community at my organization and talking to students about my experience. And just, I'm always passionate about helping others. So like Jennifer said, feel free to add us and myself on LinkedIn. Really happy to help. If you're not sure what you want to do or where you want to go, I'm always happy to chat about my experiences. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say super grateful to be here. Amazing to meet you all. We definitely have to set a time to have Peruvian food together. And yeah, happy Friday, everybody. And, add us on LinkedIn, and any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
This like amazing similarity, if you've all noticed with all the panelists, that they're also open and kind, and it takes, I think, a special kind of person, not because I'm part of an ERG, but just in general. It takes a special kind of person to be a part of an ERG. There's a lot of passion that goes into that, a lot of work, and as you can tell from your panelists today, a lot of openness to connect and help grow and develop. So thank you all very much for being a part of today's conversation. I learned a lot, and I really appreciate your time here, and look forward to hopefully one day having some good Peruvian food and learning a little bit more there.